Hi everybody. I did say that next I was going to go through the audio recordings that I took when watching the Belgian Grand Prix at the weekend. But there's various things that I've had chance to have a think about that I want to go through first. Because when you explain them in a different context and give different examples, hopefully it can enable us all to see things slightly differently. Before I get into this video, I want to once again say a huge thank you to everybody that is offering support to the channel. Really do appreciate it. And I also need to explain a few things. So this channel is to expose the corruption about Abu Dhabi 2021. That is where I'm going to focus my content on, and you'll see over the coming weeks the information that I'm going to be putting out about Abu Dhabi 2021. If you go back through the back catalogue of videos that I've done, over 400 videos, the vast majority of those videos are exposing things about Abu Dhabi 2021 that are not being exposed by mainstream media and are not being exposed even by other YouTubers. So there are things that have been hidden. There are things that when you are exposed to them in a slightly different way, it will hit you and you'll see what the truth is. And that is what I intend to do. And ultimately, I intend to take action. You can support me mainly by sharing the content to wake other people up, to enable them to see what is really going on. If you've got the ability to do this sort of thing yourself and can do it better, then please do so. Please use what is being presented here and improve upon it and make it in a better format to make more people understand. The key here is making more people understand, because what we need to do is achieve a critical mass of people that are seeing it for what it is, because that is going to stop these perpetrators in their tracks. So you can help by doing that, and I really do appreciate it. Nobody can do this on their own. I certainly can't do this on my own. It's going to take the work of good people, and that work being you putting the time and effort in to do what you can do, and that can simply be sharing it so that more people see it, and I really do appreciate it. In relation to my interactions on this channel, I do try and acknowledge the comments where I get time to do so. Unfortunately, life is very busy at the moment due to a lot of things, and there's some videos where I've not even had a chance to acknowledge the comments. And even when I do respond to the odd comment, I have turned off notifications for YouTube. Otherwise, my phone would just be pinging all day long with a comment's been made on this video, comments been made, and it's just unsustainable. So if I do make a reply to any comments, then if you then respond to that, I'm not ignoring you. I don't get notified that you've made a response, and to know that you've responded, I'd have to literally go into the video, go into all the comments, go into all the replies to then see. So I don't mean to be rude in any way. That's just the situation for what it is. But like I say, what I try to do, if I upload a video, I will try throughout the next day or so to just monitor it, see what the latest comments are. So I'll check in every hour or so and just read what comments have been made. And it's just great to see that people are putting forward some superb comments with their insight. And if I see something that I think is superb, then I'll pin it as a comment. Some of you might have seen that. That doesn't mean that the comment you've made might be any less important or as good as the pinned comment. It just might be that I've just seen a comment, I thought, wow, that's fantastic, and I'll pin it. I might then go down and see another fantastic comment, but I've already pinned one. So please don't be offended. Please don't be offended if I don't respond or if I don't heart or like your comment. It's not nothing to do with that. It's just the logistics of trying to run a channel. Okay, so I hope you understand that's the situation. One of the comments that was made on the last video, where I titled it Lewis Hamilton's 106th Grand Prix victory, and several people were saying 105. Now, that may have been people that were Max Verstappen fanboys. It might have been people that were Lewis fans or just fans of Formula One that will say statistically, accurately, it's 105. I always count in Abu Dhabi 2021 as a valid Lewis Hamilton victory, because it was. He was cheated, and in accordance with the rules and regulations of the sport, Sir Lewis Hamilton won that race, and with it, the 2021 World Championship. And we will overturn both the result of that race and that championship. So that's why I put 106. So what did I have? Else did I have written down here just to start off with? Okay, one of the comment was the thing that I missed out on in that was when Lewis was complaining early on in that race about something rolling around in his car. This is, we don't know what's going on there. We don't know what's going on there. But you would think in a multi-million-pound outfit, there should be a level of professionalism going on within that team to ensure that its drivers were in the best possible position to win and compete in that event. You've got 2,000 employees, we're told, that collectively work for that organisation. 2,000 employees that they've got a vested interest in the success of those drivers for part of that team that travels around the world, turns up at each circuit to compete. They've got this role to make sure that that car is prepared in the best possible way so that that car and that driver can achieve the best possible result. The livelihoods of all 2,000 people that work in that operation, they're not necessarily dependent on the result as such, but it can hugely impact their lives. We're told that by winning the Constructors' Championship, the teams, them employees, are in for receiving a bonus. And again, something I heard in the past, don't know the accuracy of it, but one of the things we've heard in the past about it are that it's kind of five figures in some £10,000 per person or more, for example. But let's just assume it's £10,000 per employee as a bonus if Mercedes win the Constructors' Championship. Well, 10 grand as a bonus is good money, not to be sniffed at. Okay, that can really alter the decisions that you're capable of making in life. So, everybody is an integral part of that team in ensuring that that team can accumulate as many points as possible to try to ensure that it wins that Constructors' Championship, wins the prize money that's associated with it, and therefore that prize money can partially be distributed amongst the employees. What's going on? What's going on? Is it sabotage? Is it incompetence? If it's incompetence, you think that a kind of an organisation such as Mercedes would want to tolerate that sort of thing? Raises serious questions. It really does. So, things that I need to talk about the Belgian Grand Prix. Well, I'm going to just change screen and pull up the regulations. Now, regulations, this is from the 2021 season. This was actually the ones that were published on the 8th of December that year, the final amendment for the season, the week before the Abu Dhabi fix. Now, one of the things that was talked about that gets forgotten about was that this race at the weekend, the Belgian Grand Prix, potentially Max Verstappen was on course for winning it for the fourth consecutive year. Okay, the fourth consecutive year that Max Verstappen was potentially likely to win the Belgian Grand Prix. He absolutely dominated the field for the last three seasons. He'd won it in 2021, 2022 and 2023. Now, let's go back to the Belgian parade of 2021, because this is the sport of Formula One that lies to you, and the media lied to you. I did a video about this a while back. I can't remember which thumbnail it was, but it goes through the commentary about what Martin Brundle and David Croft say. It might have actually been blocked on copyright, because that what happens with quite a few of my videos. I'd have to go through and see what's blocked and what's not. But it goes through what Martin Brundle and David Croft do to gaslight and convince the global audience that what you're watching is actually valid in accordance with the rules of the sport. What they did there was that they couldn't actually allow sport to take place because it was unsafe. But they convinced the watching world that the watching world had seen some sort of sport and that there was a winner of that event when nothing took place. No competition was possible. Nobody could overtake. So all they effectively did was drive them cars out on track, one behind the other, all behind the safety car, paraded them round for 2 laps and went, "Oh, well done you, Max, you've won that." Well, nobody wins a parade unless it's a beauty contest. And yeah, well, each to their own in that regard. But this is the regulations. And who in the media has exposed this? The FIA, this sport, the show of Formula One, what it didn't want to do, didn't want to refund all of those fans that had attended that day, didn't want to refund them for not actually seeing the sport that they'd paid to watch, didn't want to refund the sponsors for the sponsorship money that they'd invested. I mean, they got their global airtime because the cameras were showing those brands, those billboards with all those brands. But it's all about money. But the regulations, okay, rolling start, restart, you can read through Article 44. But the key bit is this here. No driver may overtake another car on the track unless he passes the line for the first... Sorry, I need to... Have I said... No, sorry, I've not missed anything out. Let me say that again. No driver may overtake another car on the track until he passes the line. See Article 5.3. For the first time after the safety car has returned to the pits. The sprint qualifying session or the race will be deemed to have started when the leading car crosses the line after the safety car has returned to the pits. That never happened, did it? The competitors that were lined up behind the safety car, they just followed the safety car into the pit lane. There was never a scenario whereby the safety car peeled off into the pits and then that snake of cars crossed that start-finish line, because that would have been the start of a race. So the 2021 Belgian Grand Prix never even started in accordance with the FIA's own rules, and yet they told us all that we'd seen a Grand Prix and that they could award half points for it, awarding Max Verstappen 12.5 points for supposedly winning something that never even started. George Russell, they gave him 9 points, I think it was, for finishing supposedly second in this event that never even started, and Lewis Hamilton 7.5 points for finishing third. Oh, another podium. Woo! So what's the net result of that? Well, Max Verstappen was awarded 5 more points than Lewis Hamilton, and this accolade of a race victory. So when they go into Abu Dhabi 2021, the so-called season finale decider, level on points, but if neither was to get any points, if neither competitor was to finish in the top 10 because of crashing out or mechanical failure, whatever it might be, and both of them didn't finish and both of them didn't get any points, and therefore they were tied on points due to that reason, Max would have been world champion because he'd won 1 more Grand Prix than Lewis. When the reality is, that wasn't even a Grand Prix, and Max was awarded 5 more points for it than Lewis was. So, in actual fact, they should have gone into Abu Dhabi 2021 with Lewis Hamilton ahead by 5 points. And not only that, had Max not have actually caught up that gap And actually, let's just say Max have accumulated 5 points. Well, it's still then level on 8 wins apiece. So, you know, it's an entirely fictitious scenario that they presented us with and got away with it. But again, where have you heard that? Who in the media has gone through the regulations and said, well, what has the FIA done here? That isn't in any way a valid Grand Prix. Who's investigating that? Who's holding them to account for that? It's a fraud. You can't lie about your own regulations and say, oh, yeah, that was a race. Don't worry, we're not going to refund anybody. That was a race, and that guy there won it. Nothing took place. So we then go into 2022 and 2023, where Max Verstappen was, as I've showed you. We've got, what have we got here? Is this 2022 or no? This is 2022, where Max Verstappen beat his teammate by 17 seconds and Carlos Sainz, the Ferrari, by 26 seconds, and Max Verstappen was peerless in that race. And then in 2023, Max beats his teammate by 22 seconds and Charles Leclerc by 32 seconds, and in that race, Max Verstappen extends his lead, and again was imperious. Now we get to 2024, and Max, because we know just how amazing Max is. How come Max didn't win? This is one of the things that you should all be asking Andrew Benson in his Q&A questions that he's requested. If you've got any questions for Andrew Benson, put them across in Andrew Benson's Q&A. Well, I think we all should be asking Andrew Benson. We've seen Max Verstappen win in 2021. We've seen him win in 2022. We've seen him win in 2023, where he's peerless. Nobody can touch him around Spa. How come he didn't win in 2024? And get Andrew Benson to give us the answer to that. Now, what is the answer to that? What can Andrew Benson tell us? Maybe Max didn't have the car this year. So if that's your excuse, Andrew, are you saying then that back in 2022 and 2023 that Max won those and was peerless because that was Max, but in 2024 he wasn't peerless because it was the car? But if you reverse that round, was it that he was peerless in 2022 and 2023 because of the car? Yet you want to project to the world that we're now witnessing this driver that is just untouchable. Well, if he's untouchable, how come he had 4 cars? Okay, one of the cars was cheated. How come he had 3 regular cars that were in accordance with the regulations of the sport? How come he had 3 cars finish ahead of him if he's peerless? Oh, it's because he didn't have the fastest car. Oh, so he only won the 2 previous years because he had the fastest car. Right. Oh, but what about this year? Because he had the fastest car this year as well. Set pole position. So Max Verstappen was the fastest car in 2024 and couldn't win. Why was that? It's because he got a grid drop down to 11th. Oh, well, he's had a grid drop down to 16th and still won. Not really got any answers for us, have you, Andrew? Is it because in 2022 and 2023, the performance advantage of that Red Bull machine was by far outstripping every other team? It was a ridiculous amount ahead of all other teams. And that is the only reason that Max Verstappen was able to achieve Well, it's not an achievement when you are competing in a machine that is just head and shoulders above everything else. Max Verstappen set the pole position time for this year's Belgian Grand Prix. Let's not forget that. That was the fastest car over one lap. Okay, that was the fastest car over one lap. Max Verstappen. He set the pole position time. He got a 10-place grid drop. Started 11th. Other seasons, he's had a 15-place grid drop. Started 16th and still blitzed the field. Still finished ahead of everybody. Which season was that? Was it this one? Belgium, was this 2023 where he just blitzed everybody from 16th? No, that was 6th on the grid. 2022. Where did he come from? 14th, sorry. From 14th to take a firm lead by lap 18. And still finished 17 seconds ahead of his teammate and 26 seconds ahead of everybody else. 10th on the grid this year, can't do it. Why is that? It's because that Red Bull car does not have that same level of performance advantage over all the other teams. Where's that disappeared? Where has that disappeared? Because at the start of the season, for the opening 5 or 6 races, that Red Bull car was still untouchable. Oh, it's because all of the other teams have caught up. No. Something has been identified in that Red Bull machine. Something is happening here. Now, again, as outsiders to the sport, it's just speculation at this moment. Do you trust the FIA, the governing body, to tell us what the truth is? Do you trust them to reveal its findings if it has determined that Red Bull are doing something illegally? Do you trust that they'll actually enforce anything? Do you trust that Perez's car and Verstappen's car are the same machine? I don't. I've got valid reason not to trust, because I can pick out so many examples where they've proven that they're not trustworthy. So I'm not going to trust them. But these are questions, again, for Andrew Benson, and see if he's got the answers as to why Max Verstappen didn't win when he'd got the fastest car. Or could it be that if you are a great in the sport, you realise that qualifying position is extremely important, specifically at certain tracks of the season. But in addition to qualifying position, in those practice sessions, you're not necessarily just looking for outright pace. What you're looking to do is do test runs to see what the performance of your car can be at different fuel loads, over different length of duration of run, on different tyre compounds, to try to set your car up to optimise its performance for the Grand Prix, to optimise your position that you can achieve in the Grand Prix, which is where the points are associated. You know, the Constructors' Championship, the Drivers' Championship, which is not determined by how many laps you may have led, okay, or how many other bullshit statistics that you may have achieved, okay. All that matters is who accumulates the most amount of points over the course of the season. So how about the guy that's the most intelligent is the one that goes, well, how do I achieve that? What I need to do is give myself the best chance of scoring as many points as possible in that race. Who do we see doing that? Who do we constantly see as having the better overall race pace relative to their either qualifying result or practice runs, kind of what they've indicated in the free practice sessions? Who do we see that in? Oh, that would be Lewis Hamilton. Strange that, isn't it? Strange that. So that's one to pick up on for Benson. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was this notion of what was going on between George Russell and Lewis Hamilton and the Mercedes team. We get the comments saying that, you know, George was within his rights to do whatever he wanted and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's got slightly differing opinions on this situation. I want you to think of it this way. Had somebody such as Carlos Sainz in a Ferrari in a different team have opted to do a one-stop strategy race and had pulled it off and had finished the race in a legal car, okay, that was within the rules and regulations of the sport, and had beaten Lewis Hamilton on a one-stop strategy, then I, for one, would have said, congratulations, well done. You made that strategy work, and fair play to you. As much as what we saw, that being Lewis Hamilton effectively dominate that race, from what we saw was going on, we saw him start third, get into first place by lap 3, not 2 as Andrew Benson here tells us, got into first place, and then just actually controlled the race. Relied on his team to make the calls that would enable him to control the race, and his team then would have probably got it wrong in assuming that Carlos Sainz was going to do a second stop, and then not factored that in, but then Carlos Sainz gone for a one-stopper and actually pulled it off. Now, had that have happened, there couldn't have been any complaints from any of us. We'd all had to say, okay, congratulations, Carlos Sainz. Okay, you managed to do that amount of laps on that set of tyres, and you saved yourself that race time by only pitting once, and fair play. You did a great job. But the difference is this. Were that happening at the exact moment that Mercedes would have become aware that it was looking like Sainz was just going to go for a one-stop strategy, that information would have been communicated to Lewis Hamilton. Mercedes would have said to Lewis, right, we now think Sainz might be on course for a one-stopper. He's not going to stop again, so you're going to have to overtake him on the track. Okay, it's hammer time. Let's get this done. Okay, that would have given Lewis Hamilton the most amount of time to reel him in, to catch him, and then give him the opportunity to make a pass. And sometimes, the way that Lewis does it, he will track his opponent, he'll see what his opponent's doing, and he'll work out what he needs to do to force his opponent into like a defensive maneuver, which is then going to make him slow on exit to a given corner, enabling Lewis to then slipstream and get the overtaking done. And that can take several laps to work that out as to how he's going to do it. Might have to sell him a few dummies. All right, this is the mechanics of motor racing. But had that situation have been played out, Lewis Hamilton would have been fed that information. He'd have been told, this is what you're going to need to do. You're now up against a guy that's on a one-stopper. So, pull out all the stops. You've got to catch him. You've got to, if you want to win this race, you've got to track him down and you've got to pass this guy. At what stage was that communicated to Lewis Hamilton that he would have to do that to his teammate to win that race? Lewis Hamilton qualified in a higher position. He gained a position from the start and then took the lead. He was dominating that race. He had the right for his team to prioritise him in order to win that race because he looked their best chance of winning that race. And his team prioritised the other driver. His team, despite Lewis's input, Despite Lewis saying, my tyres are right. No, Lewis, trust us. We're going to do this for you because we need to do this to make sure that you finish ahead of these guys. Okay? Trust us, Lewis. We've got your best interests at heart because we want the best result. And in trusting them, they allowed a guy that was on course to finish about 5th to then do him through their strategy. Now that's filthy. That is filthy. What is this notion of team? If you can't trust that your team are going to make decisions in your interests, then where is this notion of team? You've got a teammate that takes delight in beating you. How many races have we seen where the hardest that you see George Russell race is when he's trying to defend Lewis Hamilton overtaking him? We've seen races where you start seeing Lewis Hamilton's race pace start building. You see him getting into a race, you see him often start fairly tentatively, staying out of trouble, and then you see the race pace build. And you see him gaining, you see him gaining, you see him gaining. You see him gain to the back of Russell, and then he gets blocked off because Russell fights like hell to keep ahead of Hamilton. And there's been several occasions whereby it seemed that were Hamilton able to pass Russell, he had the pace to keep that momentum going and catch the cars that were in front and potentially get, for example, second and potentially even challenge for race victories. But his own teammate fought him so hard that it blocked off any chance of that happening. Now, what I said at the top of the video about this team of supposedly up to 2,000 employees at Mercedes, what has Lewis Hamilton done for them people? Well, I'll tell you what he's done for them people. 2014, Mercedes Constructors Champions. Likely to be, each of them employees got a £10,000 bonus. Lewis Hamilton won the lion's share of points for the Mercedes team that year. Significant contributor to putting 10 grand in each of the pockets of them employees. 2015, Mercedes Constructors Champions. Lewis Hamilton, again, Drivers' World Champion. The guy that put into the pot the lion's share of those points in the Constructors Championship. 2016, Mercedes Constructors Champions. Many of you will know what happened in 2016. Nico Rosberg, the champion. 2017, Mercedes, once again, 4th consecutive year, Constructors Champions. Lewis Hamilton, World Champion. Scored, achieved the greatest share of the points. 2018, 2019, 2020, the same thing. Lewis Hamilton accumulates the greatest share of the points that Mercedes accumulated, which won them the constructors' titles, putting into the pockets of each of them employees £10,000 per season as a bonus for winning. That's what Lewis Hamilton has done for them people. His accomplishments, his ability has had that impact on the livelihoods of those people working in that team. 2021, exactly the same. 8th consecutive year where Mercedes were world champions. That's 80 grand over the course of 8 years for those 2,000 employees potentially in bonuses for winning the Constructors' Championship. Now, I don't know whether them figures are accurate. That's speculation on it being 10 grand a man as a bonus. And obviously there'll be tax to come out of that. All right? But there's a significant amount of money that's been paid to them employees in bonuses for the success that Lewis Hamilton has brought that team on track. 8 consecutive seasons of big bonuses for those employees due to what he's done as his accomplishments. Okay? And now how are you treating him? Now how are you treating him? You know that he is your best chance of accumulating points. You know that. He's proven it. He's proven it time and time and time and time again. When did George Russell beat him? 2022 season. In a car that was porpoising. This thing was bouncing off the track. You've got a skilled driver that's experienced, that's driving with some pragmatism, that is being clearly thrown around at risk of injury, and he is not willing to push that car and risk his life by pushing to the limit in a machine that is bouncing him around. There is no value in doing that. Up against him was a young lad that's trying to prove himself with a gung-ho attitude, thinking he's invincible, and therefore foot to the metal all the time. Oh yeah, look at me, I've beaten Lewis. Well, you know what? An experienced competitor knows when to back out and knows where there's no real value in me pushing that vehicle that's doing that because it's dangerous. But that's the only season that George Russell finished ahead of him. Last season wasn't George, was it? Where did George go? And then you'll be people that say, well, Lewis has declared that he's now leaving, so it's fine for Mercedes to prioritise George. Well, why has he decided he's leaving? He's decided he's leaving because this team, for 2 consecutive seasons, hasn't delivered for him. He's given his input. He's told the team what he believes the direction that they need to go in to make it work. You know, the driver of the car that knows how it feels, that is trying to tell them, this is how I need it to be. This is what I need you to do to achieve that. And they go, oh, no, don't you worry your little head, Lewis. We'll make the car. You just drive it. No, it doesn't work like that, does it? It doesn't work like that because clearly, if you're not taking on board the guy's input and you're not producing a machine that is capable of even challenging, you're not going to give him a chance. So why should he waste any more years of his career at a team that's not giving him that chance? And clearly, they're now favouring his supposed teammate. This guy that Lewis will have tried to help, will have tried to guide, will have tried to give him advice, that has to copy the data. He has to look at Lewis's data, study that in order for him to get better. And he isn't even humble enough to acknowledge him, to respect him, and to say, you know what, I'm not as good as him. If I was as good as him, I wouldn't need to look at his data and copy what he's doing to try to outdo him. Cheat off of his intellectual property. You have to rob Lewis Hamilton's intellectual property to copy it, to then find a way of overcoming it, which you can't do in races. You've proven you can't. You can do it on a 1-lap qualifying lap. Whoopie-doo. Yay, I've qualified ahead of Lewis. Woohoo! Whoop whoop. No. You're piss poor, mate. So, this is the treatment of Lewis Hamilton. Like I say, had it been another team, did a one-stop strategy and it would have worked, hats off to him. But for his own team to do him like that, that is not acceptable. Absolutely not acceptable. They should have been protecting their guy in the lead. They should have been giving him the respect that he deserves, that he's earned for winning them all that they've won since 2014. And look at how they're treating him. And that's disgusting. That's disgusting. Right, I'm going to finish this video with one of the clips. I took 30 video recordings that I'm going to go through in the next video. And this is one of them. So I just want you to listen to this.
Stuck in a queue, aren't they? But 9 seconds now covers the top 8. And the inevitable gap then back to Alonso.
9 seconds covers the top 8. That was after about 8 or 9 laps of the race. 8 or 9 laps of Spa, and 9 seconds covered the top 8 competitors. Now, if we go back to some other data, and we'll go back to this one here. 9 seconds covered the top 8. So let's see what the race result was in Spa. So here we go. Well, 9 seconds covered the top 5 there. Top 8, 49 seconds covered the top 8 by the end of the race. But, you know, like I say, after about 8 or 9 laps, 9 seconds covering the top 8 is, you know, it's quite tight racing, isn't it? We normally expect it to be a bit more spread out than that, don't we? After 9 laps, it's definitely normally more spread out than 8 competitors being just within 9 seconds of one another. You know, and again, after 44 laps of racing, the last running competitor is 1 minute 28 down. So, you know, this is, you know, it's quite a long way, 1 minute 28. But that was after 44 laps of Spa, which is going to be around about 190 miles of racing. Now, what's significant about that is that after just 1 lap of racing, we saw a time gap of 1 minute 13 seconds between... No, I've got the wrong one here, haven't I? Is it this one? It's this one. Yeah, it's this one. I need to move it along here. Here it is. 1 lap of racing. We've got 59 seconds between 1st and 7th. Now, how did that happen? And I know Max Verstappen is super fast, but over the course of 1 racing lap, he's managed to get himself 59 seconds ahead of the guy in 7th. Wow, that's incredible, isn't it? You know, in 1 lap of racing, he's managed to even lap 3 of the competitors. Wow, this guy is Superman. He can turn back time. Okay, he's 1 minute 7 seconds ahead of 11th after just 1 lap. Because the thing that you all need to know, and many of you do, but many people don't know this, is that the introduction of a safety car in a Formula 1 race neutralises racing. It wipes out all the previously built up advantages that had happened before it, and all of the competitors have to bunch up nose to tail, and all of the previously built up advantages are completely gone, so that when you restart, they all restart in the correct race order, nose to tail. That's why you have the unlapping procedure, so that any of those cars that have been lapped get sent off, catch that lap back up and catch the back of the pack, so you've got the correct race order reinstated, and all of them previously built up advantage between all competitors are all wiped out. That's how it works. It's there for a purpose. It's not like Brundle and Crofty will have you believe, oh, safety car! It's spin the wheel time! Anything can happen! Let's see what happens now! Is it going to be this? Is it going to be that? What's going to happen here? Nobody knows! Well, no, we do know. What's happened is, some shit has happened and it's now a safety concern. So, we've got to neutralise racing. All of them advantages get wiped out. We keep them cars circulating round until things are cleared up and things are declared safe. And once it's safe, we essentially restart that race from a scratch position again. What's happened here? 1 lap, 59-second advantage. That's not right, is it? Who in the media has looked at the data, the statistics? Who in the FIA has gone, this way of arguing and declaring that this interpretation of the regulations is a valid one, yeah, that accounts for this data that we've got here that was produced. Who in the World Motorsport Council that signed off the report into Abu Dhabi went, oh yeah, that's just perfectly normal, that after 1 lap where racing was neutralised, all the competitors were bunched up as they need to be in accordance with the regulations, but actually just after that racing lap, the data, well, one guy's 59 seconds behind the leader. How did that happen? 3 guys are lapped. Well, surely they should have been allowed to unlap and get that back so that the race was restarted in the correct race. What's happened there? Nobody knows, and nobody's going to say anything. It was just a human error. But we're happy with the result that it generated. Move along. Move along. So, there's so many different factors of this. So many things that are easy to identify that nobody actually exposes. Nobody actually exposes the true level of corruption. And instead, move along. You talk about it, your channel gets cancelled. Your content gets suppressed. That's what happens. This channel feels like it has been suppressed. I don't know what's changed. I hope that what's changed has been a result of people sharing this content, and it's somehow allowed to break through, enabling more to see it, and those that are seeing it are like, yeah, that is actually what's going on. So please play your part in sharing this content. Once again, I apologise if I don't make responses to your comments in the comment section. I also apologise if I do make a response and you then reply to that and I don't. The process of me having to go into each video and each comment and then the replies, I just haven't got the time to do that at this moment in time. So I apologise. I don't mean to be rude. That's not who I am. Okay, but please hope you accept that apology. Thank you once again for your support. Please keep supporting the content. Please keep supporting the channel. Keep liking, subscribing, and importantly, keep sharing. I'll go through them clips in the next video. Thank you very much for your time.